Welcome to the Matrix Mini Masterclass. Each episode I'm going to be joining one of our top consultants to bring you the best tips and tactics to help you put more fish in the net. We'll be visiting venues across the country, from fishfield commercials and large open lakes to big challenging rivers. The Matrix consultants will demonstrate the skills that make them so successful, covering feeder fishing, pole fishing, waggler fishing, the tackle they use and the baits they choose. The Matrix Mini Masterclass, bringing the best to your screens. Welcome to the first episode of the Matrix Mini Masterclass. Just on the way to the Old Neen at March to meet Mark Pollard, who's going to kick the series off with a bit of bread punch fishing. March is a venue that has done really well in recent weeks, so hopefully we'll be able to pass on all his tips and tactics. Despite the freezing cold weather and a little bit of rain, hopefully he's going to catch a lot of fish and bring you a lot of tips and tactics to help you put more fish in your net. Let's get down there and check it out.
I'm here on the Old Neen at March. As you can see, I'm sitting by the Health Centre Bridge. We're sitting on a piece that's not normally pegged in the match. It's where the boats turn round, but it's just so we can get the cameras and all the equipment set out to show you guys how I'm going to take you through my session from start to finish on bread punch fishing, showing you how to prepare the bait, how I put the bait on the hook and the rigs, everything there is to need to know, so you can watch this small piece of film and you'll be bread punch worthy. I'm just going to take you through how I prepare my punch crumb for a session on the punch. I like to use, not primarily because I'm sponsored by Dynamite Baits, but I like to use their pure white crumb because you'll see when I open it up it's very fine. I'll just open some up. See how fine, very fine it is. A lot of people find it hard to mix, that's why I just want to take you through my procedure, how I mix it up. Normally I open up 3 bags because I'll do this on a Wednesday prior to the match on the Sunday. And I'll just explain how easy it is when people find it very hard. So I'll just empty 3 bags, like making a cake really, but you wouldn't want to eat it. So let's put 3 bags in there. See, the swans are gagging for a bit already. Right, I'll just get some water because we're high up here. Go on, out the way. Now this is the important part, adding the water to the crumb. Now, all aspects of fishing, always add the water to the crumb because then you can't add too much. If you pour water in a bucket and then pour the ground bait in, you can never get it right, and this is always the best way. But you've got to be quick with this, and I recommend not to use a drill. Other ground baits, yes, you can, but not this way. Now, I'll just pour some in and I'll just mix it round quickly. And you always get lumps when you're mixing up the white crumb. I'll mix it round, I'll just dampen it. Now, the reason why I like to mix it up midweek for the match the weekend is that I freeze it, and that helps break it down and makes it a better mix for feeding. Now, I'm trying to speed this up to show you how it's done, but make sure it all gets damp. You can see I can feel lumps in there now, but it's all getting damp, so you can see like there's lots of lumps in there, but that doesn't matter because we're going to riddle that off. I just want to make sure every bit of white crumb has seen a little bit of the water and mixed up. It's nothing like mixing up normal ground bait because of the lumps you get. And literally that solidifies, you just can't use it. So you must riddle it as well. And sticks to your hand. Look, it's very messy trying to knock this up. And if you use one bag, you wouldn't get a lot of it. That's why I use 3, because you do get quite a lot of waste. I'll just empty that now into another container. You can see the lumps in there. And you'll see, especially when I riddle it, how important it is riddling it, because when you put the mix in, and I'll show you then how I squeeze the ball, that once this is mixed up correctly, however hard I squeeze it, it goes into a hard ball, but it's like a sponge, it's opening up. And when it hits the water, depending on how hard you squeeze it, you mix it up correctly, it'll go down and open up where you want it to open up. Just by judgment, you get a feel for it. But it's no way you can mix it up and use it like this with the lumps in there. So then, got a riddle on my top of my bucket. We're going to riddle it now, and I'll show you. I'll just put a little bit in there. 2 lumps on top. Look at those lumps, look at that waste there. But there's nothing you can do with that. It doesn't really break down. I can squeeze it as much as I want to try and break it, but it's not like normal grout, you can't push it through. So we'll give that a bit to the swans. And I've got a lot more to come yet. Same procedure again, just do it with all the mix. And try and break these bits up a little bit, but you're going to get nothing off them. So that's just waste. There we go. Another lot for the swans. Make sure you riddle every bit, or every bit that will just scruff up. But don't try and push this through, because you'll get big lumps pushing through the riddle then that will fill the fish up quicker. That's the idea of having a fine mix, not to overfill the fish when you're feeding it. There we go. Last little bit, just riddling through now. Just see if any of those lumps will break up. Get the odd one will break up, a little bit will come off of it. There we go. So out of 3 bags, I would say we've probably got nearly a bag wasted. But look at that mix now. It's lovely. Real nice mix. And what I'd do with that, I'd put that in a bag and freeze it. Because like I said before, I'll be mixing this up probably on a Wednesday before the match on the weekend, on the Saturday or Sunday. And I'd put it in the freezer in a bag. Then I'll take it out on the Thursday night. So I'll put it in, say, Wednesday afternoon. Take it out the Thursday evening. You must make sure it has froze to get the right process with it. Then you take it out in a little defrost. And then, say, the Friday afternoon, loosen it up in a bucket and just run it through the riddle again. Just make sure it goes through. And you'll feel, then if I hold it tight together, can you see it opening up like a sponge? And that wood in the water, and it just all break up, no lumps. Look at that. Squeeze it hard, it's open up, and if I go like that, look, there's no lumps at all. Whereas with the other mix, without riddling it, if I squeezed it hard, it would go in such a lump, and only odd little bits would come off it, and get big bits come off, and the fish picks them up. Here's one here that I didn't drop in for the swans. The fish picks a big lump off of it, it just fills them up, whereas with this, it just breaks up in the water. And your hook bait is the biggest piece amongst that feed. Once I say you've defrosted it, you run it through a riddle, you can feel it. If it feels still a little bit dry, you can always add water. And by adding water, I'll dip my hand in water and then I'll rub it round the mix with a wet hand, just to add a little bit more water to it. But you can do that when you get to your peg, after you've gone through that procedure. So quite simply, mix it up as I've shown you, riddle it off, put it in a bag, freeze it, take it out then the day after once it's frozen, let it defrost, Open it up, loosen it in a bucket, run it through the riddle again so it just breaks it all up. You shouldn't get any lumps off it, and it's ready to use. The only other thing I'd add to that is, a lot of people ask me, do I use liquidised bread? I have done. When I used to fish the canals a lot, I used to do liquidised bread. And what I do with liquidised bread, the same procedure, but obviously you don't add water to it. I'd liquidise a loaf with the crusts, it doesn't matter. Then I'd run it through a riddle and just freeze it. Then take out the same procedure, push it through the riddle again, and it's just ready to use. But that becomes a very fine mix, even finer than just like this dynamite white crumb that I've used. But with that, I find that with canals where it's very small fish, or on these drains, if I was fishing these drains, I mean here at March, odd times it's been frozen in the winter, when we've had some bad winters, you've had a crack hole in the ice, that's the only time I'd use liquidised bread. But what I do, I'd mix it 50-50 with this mix. And then you get a little bit of both worlds. That's personally what I would do and how I fish the bread punch. Right, let's start the session off. I've thumbed up to fish, just going into the deeper water, so it gives me the distance between if I want another line further over, if this one doesn't work. So I'll kick it off, I'll put one nice handful size of the dynamite punch crumb. And I'll cup that in where I'm going to fish. And I'll squeeze that just enough to go down, but with a little bit to come off it, and then it'll open up just before it gets to the bottom. Right, I've just loaded my rig in with a 4mm piece of punch, and I expect straight over the feeder point, I expect to bite straight away. A little indication. Normally the quicker the bite, the more fish you normally catch. And a little tiny indication, there's just a small fish. There we are. Like I say, one of the biggest, smallish fish. Worth catching, ounce and a half fish, like little ice blocks.
Rivers wide and I am drifting through the darkness, ever lifting. Leaves are falling in the heartland, and winter takes its toll. Wait for morning in the cold winds. Pray that light will take away sins. Let me rest forever peaceful, till I find myself in colors of the dawn. From the cold, I can feel it start to come, and the pieces start to come together. Look for light above the tree line. Hold it down and let it be mine. Winter.
Ooh. Well, that's a better fish straight away now. That's about my 4th fish. I think might be a nice roach. Definitely a net fish. It's lovely fishing. So clean and positive. The bites are lovely. Beautiful fish. most important thing is keeping the swim topped up and feeding at the right time. And as a rule, I'll probably try and feed a small ball every probably 15 minutes, 20 minutes. But if they're really coming, you can do it probably every 10 minutes. But there's indications straight away as soon as I put it with this positive rig that I'll take you through in a moment. Because fishing a light rig, sometimes you're just waiting for the rig to wait up. With a positive rig, you're in, the float's under, and you've got a fish. Oh, I missed one. When punch fishing, I always use a positive rig. You can see I'm using a MP Roach 0.75 gram. We come down, main line is 0.10 power micron to an 0.8 power micron hook length and an 18 matrix silver hook. You can see I've got an Olivet going down to my hook length, which is probably from my hook, probably 12 inches away. And then I've got 1, 2, 3 number 11 easy shot just spread evenly between the Olivet, and one number 11 easy shot is on my hook length, which is 0.8, 0.10 main line to 0.8 power micron hook length. And the Olivet is a 0.5 of a gram, so you can see what easy shot I've used. And the reason that being is, rather than having say a 0.6 of an Olivet, is I can have a few more easy shot on the line that if I want to move the Olivet up, I can then just spread them out evenly as well, so I can have a slightly longer fall from the Olivet to the hook. And I fish it that positive that you can go straight down to the fish and you're registering straight away on the bristly float. You know, it's just the droppers are going to put it right down to a little dimple on the top. And anything that touches that punch means that the actual bristle of the float won't go down. And vice versa, if someone picks the punch up, the bristle will lift up. And you're just registering your bites with a positive rig straight away, because it's all dead time in between if you've got a light rig falling in through the water. But not to say that sometimes a light rig is better than a positive rig, but 9 times out of 10, you'll get away with a positive rig. And the way you're feeding, going straight into your feed, it makes it so much quicker and puts more fish in the net during a 5-hour match, or if you're just on a pleasure session, just trying to get the most out of your peg. A positive rig, 9 times out of 10, is the best rig. See, these ropes really do love the bread, but you know, any stretches of river that run through a town, especially near bridges like this one here, the health centre bridge, people are going to feed the ducks bread off the bridges, and it's a natural attraction to fish being drawn round bridges because people feed the ducks and it's feed going in and it's bread going in. And I think it's why bread works so well, because the fish see it and familiarise it's bread, it's food. And hence it draws fish, and especially this health centre bridge, you can always catch around it, but it's why you catch the whole length, because I think the fish are just used to bread. People come in, because it's in a town, coming to see the birds, bringing the children to feed them, and they're seeing bread all the time. It gets a bit of an addiction with them, but it certainly does work. Like in a lot of other places, a lot of drains, a lot of small rivers, even big rivers. Even where I live, Bedford, you can catch on bread punch there on the main ooze. It really is a bait that just sorts out the fish. It's amazing what bags you can get on it as well. Muck coming down the river now. Just got a nice roach. I'll swing this in with all muck on the line. But I was just going to show you something. Just take this muck off the line. Loads of it floating down. As I've caught the fish, I've already got punch in my bread punch, so I put my piece of punch on. Rather than go and punch another bit and drop it down, I'll keep the punch in my hand, slide the pole out, get it to the spot where I'm fishing. As I lower it in, I'm lowering it in, thinking I'm lowering it in, I punch it then, and there's no dead time then. And that added up over a 5-hour match session is a lot of time, a lot of seconds. You times that by how many times you catch a fish, it gives you more time in the water and that gives you more fish in the net. All you're trying to do is just eliminate all dead time. When everyone's catching fish and there's a lot of fish being caught, it's fishing well, you just want to be the first one in the water and out the water with a fish. If you're mucking a top belt trying to punch a bit of bread when you can be pushing your rig out, and as you're lowering it in, punch a piece of bread into the punch. Very important, that is. You know, if it's a day when it's only £3 or £4, then it's not going to be as important. But when there's lots of fish, you know, 200 to 400 fish being caught, you've got to be the first person out the water and back in. To dodge all the lily pads that are floating down as well out there. Looks like they've been cutting the weed further up. There's loads floating down. Dodging when I come back with the fish as well. Lovely fishing this. So again, I just hook the punch on. Still keeping the punch in my hand, being careful to ship the pole out and not to drop the punch. Hold it over, I'm lowering it in and I punch it and drop the punch and I'm fishing straight away, looking for a bite. Whereas each time, if you was to time that, say it's 2 seconds, might be 3 seconds, and if you're looking at fish, times that by say 200 fish, so 3 seconds times 200, and you make it into minutes, and that's how long you could be in the water more. And you'll be that faster or more time spent trying to catch fish than the next person. Another roach. As you can see, I've got a number 4 elastic. I'm just trying to dodge all the weed that's floating down. Look, there it comes. I've got a number 4 elastic that I showed you running through. It's the top 2 of my Nemesis pole. I've not got it set tight. As I showed you, it comes out nice and freely. And very important there when swinging the fish in and hooking the fish that the elastic isn't too tight or too soft. You get a fine balance in between, that when you lift up you don't bump the fish, you set the hook. And also when you come to swing the fish in, especially speed fishing on an 0.8 hook length, that you want the fish to swing to hand nicely. So that I've hooked it, the elastic's done all the work. I'm shipping back, I've got to dodge all those lilies down there that are floating, and it just swings to hand nicely. Very important. If I've got to reach for it, then obviously the elastic's too tight. If it's just swinging to hand nicely, it's all about smoothness when you're trying to build a weight up, especially when punch fishing and catching a lot of fish, getting a lot of bites. You don't want to be bumping fish or swinging them when you can't reach them. You want everything, trying to get everything to hand, the right balance. So sometimes if the elastic was too abrupt, when you lift for a bite, you would bump them. But I've not bumped a fish. You may miss a bite, but you shouldn't bump a fish if your elastic is set right. Nice lift, look, another nice rope. Elastic does all the work. I'll just show, this is a slightly better fish. Rather than net it, I can still swing it to hand, just lift up and it comes in nice. And look at that, lovely roach. 3 ounce roach. Just try and make everything smooth and everything work for you. Very important to lubricate your elastic as well, so it flows freely out the top of your pole. There's nothing worse than having elastic hanging out the end of your pole, which can lead to tangle. So if you lubricate it, it'll always go back into your pole. There's a lot of surface skim on top of the water on the drain blowing down. Although there's a lot of muck where they've been cutting the weeds floating down as well, it looks like it's flowing. And the only way to detect that it's not flowing is when you put a ball of punch crumb in, you see it go down and nothing's really floating away. It's straight in front of you. So very important that is, because you may think, oh, it's flown a bit, I'll drop my ball in just a bit upstream. And that would be the first mistake, because then all of a sudden you'll be fishing upstream because your feed's there. But you see, it's about time I need to feed another ball. It's just gone off a little bit. If I put another ball in, they're strolling, but I know to put it literally just in front of me or just to the right a little bit, because there's no flow. It's not flowing out the peg. I'll just take this fish off and I'm going to put another ball in. Very important knowing when to, oh, a little perch, when to put ball in and when not, and where to put it in. So I'm going to put another ball in here. Let's give it a nice little squeeze, and as I drop down that open like a sponge, and not making the mistake of thinking it's flowing and putting it just slightly upstream. Whereas I put it just in front of me, just to the right a little bit, and it goes, and I can see and watch it going down. And it's going straight down, and I don't know if you can see that, all that's floating away on the top is just a little tiny bit of dry stuff. And I can see it's gone straight down, and that's where I'm laying my rig straight into. That's very important, because if you get that wrong, you'll be laying it sort of upstream. In effect, really, it's out of your peg. Like always when you feed, the fish are normally straight on it, so I expect to bite again straight away, although we'll be getting bites regular as I lower it into my feed. Looking for a bite straight away. There we go, little touch. That's lifted it. I missed it, might have been a small fish, but that's straight away, they're straight into that feed. If it was flowing, the fish would line up more. It makes it a lot harder when there's no flow. But we're still catching plenty of fish. A lot of muck on the water though. Nice fish as well. Very cold they are. We've had these frosts the last 3 or 4 nights. It just slows the fish down and takes any colour that was in the water completely out. I can see my punch going down probably 2 foot below the surface. Now, indication stray, little touches, just looking for it to go, making sure it's on. Another little tip also is once the rig's laid and it's weighted up, nothing's happened, just a little lift like you would if you was pellet fishing, just a little lift, drop it down, trying to get the roach to notice the pellet moving, the pellet of bread or the piece of punch, they take it straight away. There it goes, very shy bites, a lot of them, but they're not small fish. Sometimes the shyest of bites can be the better fish. Lovely clean fishing. There's a better roach. Lovely fish they are when you get them, beautiful fish. They're very cold. We've had these frosts the last 3 or 4 nights now where it's dropped down to -9 they were saying last night in some places. But the punch never fails to catch. Brilliant bait. Fish it right. There's always fish to be had. There's another fish, but this fish I didn't catch over my feed. Another nice roach I caught past my feed. Let me just show you, explain how I've done that. What I've done, just say for instance, this is my feeder I've been feeding on the bottom, and I'm lowering my rig over the top onto that feed, just off, a couple of inches off. Because it's not flowing, that goes in on the bottom, and fish aren't lined up picking bits where bits are floating down coming up to find it. They're coming in at all angles. And so what I'm doing, fish are coming in from here, fish are coming in from there, from the right, from the left. So I'm just swinging my rig sometimes around the feed. If I go in and I don't get a bite over it, I'll swing it past it, or to the right of it, or to the left of it, or this side of it. And it just gets you extra fish. It just keeps you catching fish all through the match. Whereas if you just sit over that feed, you're only catching the fish that are on top of that feed. It's amazing. You swing the rig past it, it's a lot better, and you swing it to the right of it, how it works. And sometimes you can go just above it, but it's amazing swinging it out, holding it a straight line so it's going past the feed, you'll get a bite straight away. When you haven't fed there, it's where the fish are coming in and going out. So I think sometimes if there are predators around, which there are pike in this river, as in all places, that if they hang over the feed, I think they feel it's dangerous because the pike know they're there, so they come in and shoot out. Because all fish, when they feed, they're not aware what's going on. And normally when, obviously, over your feed, you strike a fish, he flashes, and the pike are on it straight away. So very important to fish around your feed as opposed to just on it. Give it a try, it really does work. There's another fish. Something, a very good point I want to mention to you is the depth. I've told you about the rig, mixing the ground bait, the hook bait. Is the depth. I've plumbed up and marked on my pole at dead depth, but it's very important. I always fish no more than 2 inches. Sometimes if there's a lot of cottonweed about, which you get on these drains, a lot of weed, but no, really no more than 4 inches maximum. But as a rule, 2 inches, start at 2 inches off bottom, and it just gets a much positive bite. And because bread, it's a sight thing, and fish, when they're swimming, they're not like that feeding. They're just darting around, and most of them are just picking up bits what they can see in front of them. So if you're fishing dead depth on the bottom, they won't see as much, so you'll get far more bites just off bottom than dead depth. Try it, it really does work. As I've proved here on this session, if I go in again, it's very, very important that the fish see the bait, as opposed to trying to find it sometimes. It just leads to a quicker bite, a quicker fish in the net, and you can go out and get another one. So I know as that rig weights up now, I'm not touching bottom, I'm just off bottom. So any movement on the tip of that bristle is a bite because it's not touching bottom. Then it's straight away just a little touch. And like I say, sometimes just the slightest touches are the better fish. A quick bite is sometimes a smaller fish, but a slight touch and it just drifts away is sometimes the better fish. I can entice them to take it by just a little lift and drop it down. I know as it weights up, it's off bottom and the fish can see it and move. Oh, and I missed it like that one did and had it straight away. As opposed sometimes if you're just on bottom, and especially like there's a lot of leaves on the bottom, a lot of bits of weed and that you could drop your punch there, it could be hidden. And if the fish don't see it, they're not going to take it. So it just set a couple inches off bottom. I just lower the rig in, just check it, lower it down. I know when the bottom droppers, they number 11s, just weight down, they just pull that bristle down. And if for some reason it hasn't pulled down, then the fish has intercepted the punch and it should be on. And the same thing when I lift it and drop it to entice them to take it, you'll just see the bite far quicker. There's a little tiny touch there again then. That was a shy bite, that one. But just try it because you can be fishing full depth, and if you're catching your fish, then try just coming off the bottom a couple of inches and you get a much better bite. And you'll see a bite much quicker. Just like that. There comes a barge. They come through. I thought the water was starting to pull that way because it starts to draw it. But you find when the barge goes through on this drain, it stirs the bottom up a little bit and all the weed and muck and that moves about. It takes a while to settle the fish back down again. Where we're catching quite regularly here, it'll be the end of the session for a little bit. Like sometimes to have 2 lines, because if you've got one line and the fish go off of it, you can go onto the other line. If the boat, if the boat disturbs one, it's not going to disturb both. We might be lucky, it's quite far over, so I just think we'll still carry on catching. Let's see, let's pull it in and see. the barge has gone now and the water's settled down now. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to put another ball in, just to kick-start it. Because like I said before, the boats come through, they tend to just knock it on the head for a bit. But let's just see. We'll put a ball in and just see if I catch straight away again. Which I'm sure I will. Always works. Oh. That's gone in there, lovely. Yeah, just a little dust come off of it. Just goes down, a little cloud off of it. Just to draw the fish back in to the main feeding area again. Or to entice them to start feeding. Let's see, let's lower it straight on that ball of feed. Oh, a little touch there straight away. Oh, and I missed it. Just amazing. I didn't have a bite and I put a ball in and get a bite straight away. Just gets the fish feeding again. Dropped it straight over that ball that I've put in again, and then another bite and there's a fish. Unbelievable how it works, but I just can't resist moving on that ball of punch and start feeding. So important just to get it right, the feeding, because you could sit there and think, oh, the fish are gone. Not so much that the boat come through, but even when you're actually fishing without a boat and the bites start to dry up a little bit. But like I say, as a rule, just make sure you feed a little ball of crumb, keep it accurate. Every 15-20 minutes. Don't leave it too long. I topped that up after that boat come through with a ball and we started to catch again, but the light's starting to fade now. It's getting later. I'm getting cold as well. There's another fish. Let's end on this fish and have a look what we've got in the net and see what we've caught on this little session where I've been showing you my way with the punch. Let's finish on that and have a look what we've caught. Well, there we are. Well into double figures of lovely, the old river neem punch roach. We've only been fishing probably just over 3 hours. The weather the last 3 or 4 nights has been well minus, probably up to -9 last night. The river's not flowing, gin clear. If we can catch that amount of fish, the way I've shown you, and the way the conditions have been, that's been thoroughly enjoyable. I hope you enjoyed it, because I know I have. Now let's just get these fish back into the water.